GMs for Hire.
Welcome back, everybody, to GMs for Hire. My name is Will Polson. Alongside with us today, RJ Stroup and Matt Perry, and we are here to bring you an MLB playoff bracket preview for the upcoming playoffs in the Major League Baseball. It's a completely different format this year, something we haven't seen yet before, as this year 8 teams from both the American League and the National League have made the playoffs. Whenever it comes down to it, they're going to start down in a 3-game series between this first round. Then they're going to go to the typical 5-game series, then 7 to finish it out. And this year, with the expanded playoffs, the top 2 teams from each division make the playoffs, and then an additional 2 wildcard teams, as always. We'll start just to go and hit it real quick. Matt, I'll start with you. What team made the playoffs this year that you were not expecting at the beginning of the season?
Well, I think I'm not alone in thinking this. The Miami Marlins, for sure. They come into the season looking like another 5th-place team, and they wind up turning some heads. You know, Derek Jeter really isn't doing the worst job down there running the Marlins. It's taking a while, but they're actually working their way up. They wound up finishing, I believe, 3rd in the NL East in front of the Mets and Nationals, which definitely many people didn't expect, and wound up getting the 6th seed, finishing higher than some teams who made the playoffs last year. So I don't think they'll make it far in the playoffs, but I'm definitely shocked to see them in the playoffs, and I can't be anything but proud of them, really.
RJ, I'm assuming the same?
Yeah, I mean, that's the low-hanging fruit would be to say the Miami Marlins. Before the season when we talked about the potential of, a team going out and winning single-digit games, I know I did. The teams that I was thinking of were like Baltimore, Detroit, and Miami. Those were the 3. I really expected Miami's division to be better this year. I really think Miami benefited from the Mets not living up to expectations, the Phillies not living up to expectations, and the Nationals just having a World Series hangover. I think if those other 4 teams and then the Braves, they slap always. If the other 4 teams would have been as good as they could have been on paper, Miami wouldn't have been anywhere close to making the playoffs. But, hey, good for them. You mentioned Derek Jeter. It's going to take time to rebuild that franchise. The first thing you have to do is you have to gain the public trust. Let's not forget Marlins Park is built on the site where the old Orange Bowl was, and nobody wanted the Orange Bowl tore down. And so you tear it down and you build a big baseball stadium that's costing the taxpayers a ton of money. No one likes that team down there. You're going to have to earn their trust. And getting postseason berths, especially when it's not expected, that's how you gain the trust, and that's how you begin to really build a fan base.
That team really rallied around, especially young pitcher Sixto Sanchez. He did it amazing whenever he was being brought up. The addition of Starling Marte really helped them out, and they were looking like a pretty solid team there for a little bit. And so they've managed to sneak into 2nd place out in that division. And under the new playoff rules, that's just good enough. So they'll be moving on, and they'll be in the first round against Chicago. We'll get to them in a second, but we're going to start with the American League side of the bracket. Since their games start on Tuesday, we'll hit them first. And starting with the 1 seed versus the 8 seed, the Toronto Buffalo Blue Jays will be taking on the Tampa Bay Rays as the 1 seed in the American League. RJ, we'll start with you in a 3-game set. Who do you like between Toronto and Tampa Bay?
Toronto's another team that I really didn't think was going to make the playoffs. I know they have some good young pieces. I didn't think they had enough. But then again, 8 teams make it. So, I guess they had a pretty good shot. The Rays pitching is disgusting. They should not be allowed to assemble this much talent on one team. The Rays, honestly, are just going to sweep them.
Matt, we'll go over to you. Rays and Blue Jays. Who you got?
Well, for me in a 3-game series, pitching's everything. And like RJ said, the Rays pitching is pretty nasty. I'm going to have to go with the Rays as well. I do like where the Blue Jays are at now. I do also think they turned a couple heads making the playoffs, sneaking in right there at the end. And they do clearly have a nice future ahead of them with guys like Bo Bichette. But yeah, for now, I have to go with the Rays. No question.
Yeah, I think we can all agree there. I'm definitely going with Tampa Bay on that one between Snell, Morton, Glasnow. I mean the pitching over there in Tampa Bay is disgusting. They have an amazing bullpen as well. A lot of underrated guys that are kind of under the radar, but yet still good enough to take the number one seed in the American League. We're all going with Tampa Bay on that one. Moving on to the 2 seed versus the 7, the Chicago White Sox. I think another team that a lot of people may have been a little skeptical on at the beginning of the season have snuck in as the second team, have snuck in actually as a wild card team out in the American League Central, and they'll be taking on the Oakland Athletics. Matt, we'll start with you. Between Chicago and Oakland, who do you like?
Well, Chicago's another team with a nice young future. You got guys like Eloy Jimenez, Yoan Moncada, of course, Luis Robert, kind of on the front lines for the White Sox moving forward. Like I said, pitching's everything. Neither of these teams have a fantastic rotation. Lucas Giolito obviously stands out for Chicago. I know Dylan Cease has had some good starts. Luis Robert did not have a very good end of the season. I know he was on kind of a skid, kind of messed with his chances at a Rookie of the Year award. We'll see where that goes. But this one's going to be close. I think this one goes 3 for sure. But I'm going to have to take the safe bet and go Oakland.
All right, so we got one for Oakland. RJ, who you like in between the White Sox and the Athletics?
I'm glad you said that, so this episode isn't boring and we all have the same picks. I actually really think the White Sox are going to do it. I do think it'll probably go 3 games. The White Sox it's like they have a switch. And if they flip it on, if they're on when they show up at the ballpark, they can explode for 11 runs that night. This team can absolutely mash. Oakland's going to miss not having Matt Chapman. You mentioned neither team really has a great rotation, but you did mention Lucas Giolito, and he's going to be the best pitcher in the series, best starting pitcher, that is. And, yeah, hopefully that would be a dub for Chicago, whichever game Giolito starts, probably game 1. Yeah, I think the White Sox can beat Oakland, actually.
Okay, well, I guess I'm not the only one. I was also looking at the Chicago White Sox. I knew I was going to have a differing opinion once you said Oakland. Again, I'm right there with RJ. If this team is firing on all cylinders and they're having a good day between Jose Abreu, Yoan Moncada, Luis Robert, Eloy Jimenez, Yasmani Grandal, I mean, this is a team that can, if they get hot, put up 8, 9, 10 runs in an inning. Being a Cardinal fan, I watched them do it to us at one point in the season. I know they beat us, I think, like 11-1 one game earlier in the season. They have the ability. Lucas Giolito, one of the 2 pitchers to throw a no-hitter this year. He's been dialed in. He's been pitching pretty well. But overall, yeah, I like the chances just because of the fact that Oakland's missing Matt Chapman. And as both of you mentioned, the pitching isn't really too great in this matchup. I like that bullpen arm, that lefty bullpen arm. I know Matt and I have talked quite a bit about him. I think his last name's Crochet or Crochet. Yeah. He's been amazing for the White Sox coming in here. He's pitching like 100 to 102 lefty arm. Look for him to neutralize. I wouldn't be shocked to see a lot of him versus Matt Olson. So I wouldn't be shocked to see the White Sox be able to pull it out. So 2 of us with Chicago and 1 of us going with Oakland. And that takes us on to the 3 seed versus the 6 seed. The Trash Bangers make it yet again. They will be taking on the Minnesota Twins, who had won the American League Central. We'll start with RJ. Between the Astros and the Twins, who do you have?
This is another series that I think could have a lot of fireworks. There could be a lot of firepower, a lot of runs scored. I like Minnesota. Justin Verlander won't be available for Houston. Lance McCullers has not played well this year. You don't know what Zach Greinke's going to show up. You don't know which one you're going to get that day. I think the Minnesota Twins can beat them. I think that's another one that'll probably go 3. But, yeah, you talk about a high-scoring series. These teams can put up some runs.
Matt, the same for you, or are you going with Houston?
I do have to agree with about everything RJ said. This isn't the same Houston Astros, sign stealing or not. This isn't the same team we saw even a year ago, let alone 2 or 3. Like you said, Verlander is not available. McCullers is inconsistent. Greinke can be hit or miss in the playoffs. I know he was last year. And then the offense has not lived up to par this year. They'll be without Yordan Alvarez, which could be a factor. But, yeah, I do think it'll go 3, and I do think it could be fairly high scoring. But in the end, I do think the Twins will get past the Astros.
You know, we've said so far that a lot of this comes down in a 3-game set to pitching, and I just think the pitching for the Minnesota Twins has it. Yes, both teams can be very offensive heavy. We've seen it with the Twins. You know, they're always a home run heavy team. Nelson Cruz, Josh Donaldson. It doesn't matter. Anybody can put it over the fence, I should say. Even hit it out of the ballpark if need be. But yeah, I just think with Kenta Maeda, the way he's been pitching this season, he's been disgusting. He's been out of his mind. Jose Barrios is always going to be a solid pitcher. I like Minnesota, and I think those two arms could do it for him. I wouldn't be shocked to see it be done in 2. But overall, I like Minnesota in it. I think the injury bugs just kind of bit the Astros a little bit too hard, especially taking Justin Verlander. I think that would be their one shot at having an opportunity in this. But whenever you have to rely on arms such as McCullers and Urquidy, Valdez, James, I don't like the chances for Houston. So I'm going with Minnesota as well. And that'll bring us to the final American League matchup as Matt Perry's New York Yankees will be taking on the Cleveland Indians, the second place team in the American League Central. We'll start with the homer, Matt. New York Yankees and Cleveland Indians. What do you got?
I'm not gonna lie, I'm scared. And I'm scared for many reasons, not just because we'll be facing Shane Bieber, the Triple Crown winner, most likely Cy Young winner in the Game 1, but mainly because the Yankees have been so hit or miss this year, in all honesty. The Yankees start the season off going 16-6. They hit another slide. They hit that 10-0 run a couple weeks ago. They finished the season on another slide, end up in the 5th seed. You know, it has not been an ideal season for the Yankees. Early on, injuries bit them again, but now the 10-day DL is empty for the most part, I believe. Paxton, however, is shut down for the season. Obviously, Severino has been out for the year. Tommy Kahnle out of the bullpen, he's done for the season. As we mentioned, pitching defines a 3-game set for the most part. And, you know, you got Shane Bieber, Garrett Cole Game 1, which won't be easy, but I do think Garrett Cole could get us through. No doubt this game goes 3. And the Cleveland Indians, of course, are a fantastic team. Wasn't their best year, but we've met them several times in the recent past in the playoffs, and I believe we're 1-1 in our last 2 series against them. But it could really go either way. I'm going to trust the Yankees here. I'll give it to the Yankees in 3, but if the bats don't show up in Game 1, I wouldn't expect them to show up in Game 2. So, bats in Game 1, Yankees in 3. No bats in Game 1, Cleveland in 3. I'll put it that way. I'll split it.
Seems to be the closest this 3-game set out of the 4 in the American League for Matt. RJ, are you feeling the same? Is this going to be one of those coming down to the wire here?
Yeah, this is definitely the marquee matchup for the first round of the American League playoffs, in my opinion. This is the irresistible force and the immovable object right here with the Yankees offense versus the Indians pitching. Yeah, you really have a great matchup. Here you mentioned how Game 1 could be Shane Bieber versus Garrett Cole. I'm just throwing stuff out here. Who knows? Shane Bieber he's an MVP candidate. I personally don't think a pitcher should ever win MVP, but this guy, like you mentioned, won the Triple Crown. He's an MVP candidate. What do you think? Should Garrett Cole pitch Game 2 instead of Game 1?
That's what I would do.
Throw Cole in 2, right? Because I don't want to waste. I don't want to waste Garrett Cole when we're going up against Bieber. Just take your L against Bieber and then throw Cole and Tanaka, and let's see what's up. They're not going to do it, I'm sure, but
I like the idea of Tanaka versus Bieber just because of how good Tanaka is in the playoffs.
Yeah,
and Cole just save him for a different one.
I feel like this goes for any playoff team. You don't want to lose Game 1 because then your back's against the wall. I think, and then like you said, Tanaka's so good in the postseason. Why can't he go Game 2 just in case Cole can't get it done against Bieber? You have Tanaka.
He ain't Garrett Cole. That's why.
I trust Garrett Cole and Masahiro Tanaka in the playoffs more than probably any other pitcher in the league. I mean, you know, they're historically very good in the playoffs. So either way, I think they're reversible. You can put them for versatile. You can put them anywhere.
Well, the theme of this video has been pitching, so I guess I need to give a prediction. And I think I'm going to go Cleveland in 3.
I think I'm with you too when this is going to be like the most dramatic one of the 3. To say a 3-game set's going to be dramatic may be a little bit of an overreaction, but I don't see where this doesn't go to 3. I don't see either one of these teams winning in 2. And it really is going to depend, as Matt said, on what New York team shows up, because we've seen the Yankees lose 15 of 20. We've seen the Yankees win 10 straight. And this has been a very streaky season for the boys in the pinstripes. And so it's going to be interesting, but just purely based off of my gut reaction, I'm going to have to go Cleveland. Just because of, as mentioned already, the pitching staff. I mean, the Yankees have a great pitching staff. You can't lie. But again, in classic New York Yankees fashion, the injury bug bites again. As mentioned, with all the names that Matt mentioned that are out of it, or at least are going to be shut down for some. Just with how deep the Cleveland starting pitching staff is, I think that they stand a little bit better of a chance. But Garrett Cole and Masahiro Tanaka are very phenomenal arms. They're going to be interesting. Tanaka has a great record in the postseason, a great track record, I should say. And he's pitched very well. Garrett Cole's Garrett Cole, but also Shane Bieber is Shane Bieber, and the Triple Crown winner of the Major League Baseball. So which doesn't happen a lot, but it's definitely going to be probably, out of even the American and the National League, probably the most entertaining series out of the 3. But that moves us on to the National League. And quick shout out to the National League Central, because they have a team represented in every single series in the National League. First time ever, because it's the first time it's been possible, that 4 teams have represented a single division in the playoffs. And so we'll start off with the number 1 versus the number 8 seed. The Los Angeles Dodgers will be hosting the Milwaukee Brewers. And I mean, that sounds terrible for the Milwaukee Brewers, at least in my opinion, but we'll start with RJ. We'll get your opinion on that.
Dodgers in 2.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, that's it. I don't think the Brewers should have been in the playoffs anyway. I was really hoping the Phillies would have got that last spot, because I think they have just a little more firepower. They could have at least made it interesting. I think the Dodgers just smack them.
Matt, the same?
Dodgers in 2. I also wanted to see Bryce Harper in the playoffs. He's always electric.
Yep.
JT Realmuto is yet to have playoff experience, I believe. So when will we see him? Maybe next season when he's on a different team. Who knows? But, yeah, Dodgers in 2.
Who would have thought when JT Realmuto and Marcelo Ozuna and all these players leave is when the Marlins make the playoffs? But, I'm with you. Obviously, the pitching staff in Milwaukee, I can name 1 starter, and then I don't even know who's going to pitch Game 2 and Game 3 if it comes down to it.
It don't matter.
Yeah, and it's not going to. Brandon Woodruff is the only starting pitcher name I know out there in Milwaukee, and the other 2, good luck, because it's either going to be there's Buehler, there's Kershaw, there's May. It keeps going for the Dodgers, and then not to mention if you hit their bullpen's actually had some decent success this year, which isn't very common for Dodgers pitchers. It seems to be very starting pitcher heavy, and then their bullpen can be a little shaky, other than the anchor of Kenley Jansen. But even the bullpen for the Dodgers has done well this season. So Dodgers in 2. The clear consensus here between everybody. So moving on to the 2 versus the 7, RJ's Atlanta Braves are going to be hosting the Cincinnati Reds. RJ, we'll start with you on this one. How do you like your team's chances against the Reds?
This is, obviously I'm a homer, but this to me is the most interesting matchup in the National League. Because I think the Reds are just that scrappy, fun team that is just kind of annoying and just kind of pisses you off. You can't ever make them go away. But the Braves right now, I really don't know how they could be hotter. Freddie Freeman should be the National League MVP. Marcelo Ozuna led the National League in RBIs and home runs. Acuna still slaps. Albies is finally healthy. Max Fried is a Cy Young candidate. Who's the kid they brought up? Ian Anderson. He's doing really well. I like the Braves. It'll probably go 3. They'll probably drop a game. Hopefully they don't. Hopefully it's in 2 and they don't, start giving me heart problems already. But I do like Atlanta's chances. I do think that'll be a fun series, though.
Matt, what are your thoughts on this series?
So back when we did the predictions, I think I had the Reds at least winning the division. I know when we did the predictions, they were formatted differently because we formatted it based on region. But clearly that didn't happen. And like RJ said, Atlanta has a bunch of guys that are on fire. Freddie Freeman, Marcell Ozuna, both top 5 hitters in the National League right now. And they're pitching. Yeah, Max Fried's really broken out this year, kind of from out of nowhere. I believe he was getting bullpen shifts the past few seasons, and they finally gave him some more innings, and he's really showing what he can do. I'd be really afraid of this team if Soroka was healthy. Yeah, if you could imagine that'd be a World Series candidate right there. And then they still could be. But Cincinnati was hot to finish the season. Obviously, they needed to be to get in. But I honestly think I have to go Atlanta. They're having too good of a season, and the individual players are just – everyone just seems to be producing for them. So I'm going to go Atlanta in 3. I do think Cincinnati could sneak one out. But, yeah, I think the Braves got this.
Now, when we've been talking about the tradition of this video so far has been pitching staffs, I think it's clear to see who you go with. But that's not the case with this Atlanta lineup, because this Atlanta lineup is on fire, as mentioned. Being a Cardinal fan, I still lose sleep over the fact we did not extend Marcell Ozuna. Freddie Freeman has been absolutely on fire, as mentioned. Definitely top 5, top 3, maybe even the number 1 hitter in the National League this season. Been absolutely great. You have that young core between Ozzy Albies, Acuna, as mentioned. It's just that I don't see much of a weakness whenever it comes to the lineup. There may be a few spots here and there where you have to squeeze somebody in, but even a player such as like Adam Duvall can go off at any time. We've seen it multiple times throughout the year where he's had a game where he's popped off 3 home runs.
Austin
Riley, yeah, as I was about to mention, he can be an offensive force. Trevor d'Arnaud can be an offensive force. There are players. Who? Dansby can get hot. He got hot at a point in this year. This team doesn't have many offensive spots where you can almost guarantee an out, and that's the best way to combat a great pitching staff. And even though the Reds at a point were looking like they were going to have number 1 and number 2 in the Cy Young candidates for the National League between Bauer and Sonny Gray. Sonny Gray started to dip off a little bit, but Trevor Bauer is, I would say, the one glowing thing that Atlanta should be concerned about. But at the end of the day, I got to take Atlanta. In a 3-game series, I wouldn't be shocked. Between Castillo, Gray, and Bauer, don't be shocked if the Reds able to pull one out at least. But I'm gonna go with Atlanta. But this is definitely, as RJ mentioned, this is definitely the series in the National League that I want to see. This is the one that I want to watch, just because it's kind of like whenever you get a Super Bowl that's the number 1 offense versus the number 1 defense. Now you're looking at one of the best offensive lineups versus one of the best pitching staffs, at least from a top standpoint. They're very top heavy. But in a 3-game set, that's all you need. You need those 3 arms that do you good, and Cincinnati has just that. So we'll see exactly how that unfolds. But for now, we're all going with Atlanta. So moving on to the 3 seed versus the 6, the Chicago Cubs, the ultimate winner of the National League Central, will be hosting the boys that could, the Miami Marlins, in Chicago in a 3-game set. Matt, we'll start with you. Miami versus Chicago. Who do you have?
Like I said, I'm proud of the Marlins for making the playoffs, and they've turned some heads, but I don't think it's going to be a Cinderella story this year. I'm going to say it straight up, Cubs in 2.
RJ, the same?
Yeah, it's pretty clear cut. I would like to point out, though, that I did pick the Cubs to win the National League Central before the season started while y'all were riding the Reds.
I rode the Cardinals, to be fair, but I said the Reds were going to be a playoff team.
All right, yeah, Cubs in 2. Marlins just, it's.
For sure. I mean, I like what Miami's doing. Hopefully they're able to rally up a couple of those young pieces and able to keep them for the foreseeable future and bring in a couple new people. I really like Sixto Sanchez, and like I said earlier, he's been pitching very well. The addition of Starling Marte has been absolutely amazing. He's found his own in Miami, back to being a star player. And so Miami's been able to put a couple things together, but two names you need to know: Kyle Hendricks and Yu Darvish. And that's exactly who you're going to see, and that's exactly who's going to shut down that lineup. So it's going to be a very low-scoring affair for Miami. I'd be bold enough to say that they're going to get shut out both games. I wouldn't be shocked to see the way Yu Darvish has been pitching. Yu Darvish has been a National League Cy Young candidate as well. Kyle Hendricks is always one of those sneaky players. Kyle Hendricks can only throw about 90 miles per hour, but yeah, he can throw a no-hitter in 60 pitches. It's ridiculous. He's filthy. So definitely Cubs in 2, and definitely a low-scoring affair for the Miami offense. And so that brings us to the next round, which will the final round, or the final matchup of the wild card round, will be the number 5 seed St. Louis Cardinals will be being hosted by Slam Diego, as the Padres will be hosting the Cardinals for a 3-game set. Matt, we'll start with you. Your opinion on the Cardinals versus Padres.
Well, ever since that thing happened in Arlington, San Diego's been America's team. You know, they got red hot after Tatis hit that grand slam on like a 3-0 count, and the Rangers manager started getting all pissy about it. But, yeah, these are 2 very good teams, honestly. I do think it'll go to 3 games. But the Padres are so fun to watch. They do have a MVP candidate, of course, in Fernando Tatis Jr., who's arguably the most entertaining player in the league right now. By the way, for MVP, I do think Freddie Freeman should win it, not Tatis, but that's just me. But, yeah, Hosmer's really stepped up this year. He's gotten better. Will Myers has had a good year. They've gotten production from just about everybody. Jake Cronenworth could make a run at Rookie of the Year, honestly. Same with Trent Grisham. Both of them had sneaky good years and have improved very much, from at least Gresham has, from the last year. And then pitching, Dinelson Lamet has had a fantastic season. Really flew up the ranks, kind of past Chris Paddock in that rotation. And having Chris Paddock as a 2 really isn't a bad shot. The Cardinals, of course, they're always playoff ready. Jack Flaherty hasn't been his best, but I think he'll show up in the postseason. Hopefully that bullpen holds it together. Gallegos, Miller, guys like that. But I'm going to go Padres in 3.
RJ, we'll get your opinion. Cardinals versus Padres.
I'll keep it short. You're the Cardinals fan. I'll let you do more talking than me. This Padres team, I think they're one of the most fun teams in the league to watch. I love their offense, whether it's Hosmer, whether it's Tatis, whether it's Machado, whether it's Will Myers. Anyone can pop off. It's kind of like the Braves lineup. I would love to see a 7-game series between those 2. I think their pitching's good enough. I think the Padres win it in 2, actually. I think the Padres are so good.
Fair enough. Similar to Matt in this situation, I feel like I can't home my own team. The St. Louis Cardinals, in any other scenario, I would go with the St. Louis Cardinals. But I can't do it just because of how thin we've been stretched this season. Between doubleheader after doubleheader after doubleheader, having to miss so many series early on and then having to try to scramble to make everything back up, we're really stretching ourselves thin. And I think because of that, we've seen a dip in production in a lot of players. Again, like I said, I've lose sleep over the fact that John Mozeliak wouldn't go give an extension to Marcell Ozuna because our outfield's combined batting I want to say our combined outfield batting average is like 220. We have been absolutely pitiful whenever it comes to that. Luckily, Harrison Bader's starting to get it and starting to put a couple things together ever since we sent Carlson down to the alternate site. He's come back and he's been looking okay. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to pitching. And Dinelson Lamet, as mentioned by Matt, has been having an absolute tear of a season. With the addition of Mike Clevenger, Chris Paddock as well. I don't see where the Cardinals can pull it out. You would like to trust Jack Flaherty, and you'd think he'd steal a game, but as mentioned, he's not having the greatest season. Right now, the best pitcher for the Cardinals and who we'd have to bank on is Adam Wainwright. And I don't know if I can trust a 39-year-old Adam Wainwright to try to carry us throughout the playoffs, but I mean, he's done it so far in the regular season. hopefully we can get some of that Cardinal magic and at least try to steal one game. We always are one of those weird teams that no matter who's on our roster, no matter how good or bad we look, we still manage to be a pain in the ass for somebody. Wouldn't be shocked to see the same for San Diego, but ultimately, I'm going with the same prediction as Matt. I have to take the Padres in 3, just because I can't do it. There's something about it that just doesn't sit well with me. I'm glad we made the playoffs by all means. I'm not shocked to see another year of playoffs with the St. Louis Cardinals in it. I mean, it almost feels weird when we're not in it, but that doesn't mean we always contend. And I think this is going to be one of those years where it's just going to be kind of a wash for us. So I'm taking the Padres in 3 games. So that'll bring it to the end of the first round of the wild card games. We will be back after the end of the wild card rounds to give you our next predictions. We'll see who was right, who was wrong, and what series really struck our eye whenever we were going through it. We'll be back with that one. But before we close it out, guys, either one of you have any closing thoughts on any of these series or any players to watch, anything such as that?
Well, Matt mentioned how he wishes Bryce Harper would have been in the playoffs, just for an entertainment standpoint. Watch Fernando Tatis. I think that'll be our entertainment. Him and Ronald Acuna. I think those are 2 of the most exciting players in all of baseball, and they're going to be fun to watch.
Matt, any closing thoughts on any of these series?
I hope Aaron Judge gets hot. I hope the whole Yankees team gets hot, because if we don't, I'm in trouble.
I hope if anybody gets hot for the New York Yankees, it's Luke Voigt, so I can at least feel like we did you a favor. And I hope, no matter how hot the Padres get, I hope Yadi Molina at least throws out Fernando Tatis at least one time in this series. That's all I'm praying for. So that's all I can really hope for at this point. But if for some reason our bats get stupid hot like they did today, where the Cardinals were able to put up 7 runs, look out for us. You know, we're one of those stupid teams, as mentioned. We are the team who's won the least amount of games in history and still win a World Series. So don't be shocked to see some Cardinal magic and make something stupid happen again. So, but until then, we'll figure out what exactly is going to happen the next time we're on here with another baseball video. But until then, this has been our predictions for the wild card round of the 2020 MLB playoffs. You've been watching GMs for Hire, and on the behalf of RJ Strope and Matt Perry, I've been Will Polson. We want to thank you all so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys next time. Peace.